is to Camp Seneca Lake and to myself and to Neil and to Amy. We have heard some feedback from some of our campers and some of our parents about just mixed feelings about whether people want to register, or those who even have registered, just not really sure how they're feeling about the summer. And in the spirit of being transparent and working together and collaboratively, this summer is about you guys. And so, the goal for tonight is for us to listen, to ask some questions, to hear where you're at, and to talk about, for those of you who have registered, who maybe are our cheerleaders, what struggles you might be having in trying to get friends to sign up. And for those of you who are feeling really unsure, to know that this is a really safe space and that you're not going to hurt our feelings. I think we all can collaboratively say that we don't like COVID and it's getting in the way of a lot of things. And we're here to try to make the best out of a really unfortunate situation. So I'm kicking that off, and then I'm going to have to actually jump off to start another phone call. But you are in amazing hands with Neil and Amy, and we really wanted this opportunity as we were kicking into the holidays to be able to touch base. So I will leave it with my gratitude towards all of you, and feeling really thankful that we are all a part of this community together, that you care so deeply about yourself and our community together, that you're all here. And so thank you for being you, and for having the courage to come and talk to us tonight about what's on your mind. So I'm going to pass it off to Neil, who's the host, and to Amy, and say Lila Tov.
Tov, thank you, Lori.
All right.
So I guess before we, now that the big boss lady is gone, I'm just kidding. Before we jump into like the open discussion, I wanted to just give a brief update on where things are with CSL. Our staff application process started a little over a week ago, and that will continue through the holiday season and into the winter. The staff application is available on our website. It's through CampMinder. In terms of camp enrollment, we are about 85, maybe even 90% full at our 50% capacity through the 4 sessions. So if you equate that to like a normal summer, we're like 40% or 45% full because we're at 50% capacity, but we are close to capacity in our COVID plan for how to operate the summer. One of the areas where we do, in fact, have a lot of space available still is for the Tuscarora program, for the senior camper program. I think as of this morning, there were 26 or 27 enrolled kids, which means that there are 19 that were signed up to come to camp in 2020 that have not signed up for 2021 yet. So what we were hoping to accomplish from this Zoom call today was to really give the floor to all of you and to hear, and as Lori said, to listen to things that you are looking for from the CSL community, from Amy, myself, and from Lori, and to answer any questions that you might have at this point. As Lori mentioned, we don't have an agenda, we don't have a PowerPoint. You've all seen everything that we have to show at this point. So we really wanted to hear from you all in terms of what you're looking for from the summer, what apprehensions you have, what questions you have, and how we can collaborate and work together to ensure that we have a successful summer 2021. So feel free to type things in the chat box, or you can just like jump in and talk or ask questions or whatever. I'm going to put myself on mute and give you guys the floor.
Do you know like who out of our like staff we were supposed to have like signed up, or can you like not say that?
So I can't talk specifically about who's applied to work at camp. I can say that there is interest from some of the people that were supposed to be your staff in 2020 to come back in 2021. I can't say who, and I can't say if that'll work out, and they will be there, but there is some interest, certainly.
I think one of the things that was kind of like not really a deal breaker, but one of the things that was kind of made people hesitate about coming back to Tusk was that we're going to have counselors in our cabins with us, which is just kind of weird for senior campers, especially because we're going to be 16 and not 15. Like, is there any way to not do that?
That's a great question, and thank you. In order to, so it's going to be a long, convoluted answer, so bear with me. In order to ensure that we could run Tusk in a way that had enough beds for everyone that would sign up in 2020, in this COVID year, we couldn't use the Village of Tusk. We couldn't use the tent platform, so we had to find a new village for the senior campers. And based on the numbers and based on the physical space, we learned and we decided that the Village of Mohawk was going to be the best sort of replacement or supplement to the Village of Tuscarora. But because we are using a pre-existing village and we're not like breaking new ground and building new cabins for Tusk, we are limited by the space in the village. And so what that means is there's enough space in the cabins for 6 or 8 campers, depending on the cabin, and 2 staff. And the 2 staff thing is actually a law that the Department of Health in New York State have for summer camps, and that we can never, there's no situation where a living space can be occupied by only 1 staff member. And the reason why we're able to get away with 0 staff members in the tents is because of the proximity, because there's maybe a few camper tents and then you have a staff tent and then a few more camper tents and then a staff tent. So it's like proximity, and the size of the Village of Mohawk and the buildings that are there, the only way that we could make it work was by putting staff into the cabins. Now, are there other options out there that we could have explored? Sure. Like, can the staff live in like camping tents all summer? Like the ones you take on your TULs? Like, yeah, they could, but I don't know that any staff member would, any person would sign up to spend 7 weeks living in one of those tents outside of a cabin. Like, where are they going to put their stuff? You have to, like, you know, like, how do you change your clothes? There's no, you know, there's like not, it's not like there's no electricity. So, what we did, the thing that we landed on was that we could have 6 or 8 campers and 2 staff in the 6 cabins that are out in Tusk. And what does that mean in terms of, is it going to be Tusk staff or other staff living in there? There's going to be at least 1 Tusk staff member living in each cabin, and then there might be a second Tusk staff or like a specialist, a non-village staff member that lives there also, which is not outside of what we've normally done, in that there are non-village staff that have lived in the Village of Tusk with Tusk and sort of act as like a pseudo staff member. They help out with evening duty and responsibilities there. So there's someone just typed in the group, would staff be able to be in their own cabin? No, the numbers just don't work out. There's just no way where we can put male and female staff in a cabin together and have enough space for campers to be, you know, out in their own cabin. So that it's just like, it's just not possible for us to do. And not even getting into like Department of Health regulations about kids and supervision and proximity to where the staff live and all that type of thing. So hopefully that answers your question. If things change, if the regulations are lifted and there's, you know, a vaccine that's easily accessible and we are able to bump camp up to 75% or 100% capacity, then it's likely that we'll move the senior campers back to the platform tents in Tusk. But right now, like, the best that we could do is using the cabins in the Village of Mohawk. You're welcome. Are the sessions the same length as before? So the Tuscarora program, the Tusk senior camper session, is 7 weeks. That's the same length as it's always been. From the first day that any campers are at camp until the last day that any campers are at camp, that's the length of the Tusk program. It's 7 weeks. What's different in 2021 is that instead of camp being divided into 2 sessions, session 1 and session 2, or formerly known as July and August, we've divided it into 4 sessions, the first 3 of which are 2 weeks long, and the last session is 1 week. So the other campers around camp will be filtering sort of in and out, and there will be more opening and closing ceremonies, and things will look a little bit different, but the Tusk program is intended to be 7 weeks long. Now, I was talking a little bit about how camp had session 1 and session 2 in July and August, and one was 4 weeks, one was 3 weeks, and then they were both 3.5 weeks. But we always offered a 2-week option to like young and to new campers. So at a 30,000 foot view, this new model with 4 sessions isn't that far off from what we've already done in the past, having session 1A and session 1 and session 2A and session 2. So it is a little bit of a change, and it is a little bit of a pivot, but it didn't come out of thin air. It is something that is in line with what we've been doing for the past 5 or 6 years already. Another question here, are the camp programs going to be around the same relative times in the summer as a normal summer? So I can't talk specifically about what the programs, when and what the programs are going to be, not because I don't want to tell you, but because we don't know what we're going to be able to do given the COVID restrictions. So let's say there are no restrictions for COVID come summer 2021, knock on wood, that happens. I imagine things will look similar to how they've looked in the past to what you know a camp session to look like. Bunk nights, village nights, signature programs, all that type of stuff, probably around the same time that it would happen, meaning like a larger mass program later in the summer, a shorter mass program earlier in the summer, and then some other supplemental things like Tusk Triathlon will happen towards the end. I don't know that we're going to do a fight song because of COVID, but like if we do fight song, like it'll probably be in the first half of the summer. I don't know that. I can't say that with any sort of certainty, but that's likely what things will look like. In a world where we're operating at what we're planning at right now with 50% capacity and the 2 and 1 week sessions, I think things will look very different for when the programs take place. I think it's likely that there's a mass program every single session. I think it's likely that there are bike trips every single session. I think it's likely that during intersession, Tusk will be doing some really out there and new and unique programming to 2021, because intersession is like 36 hours long and everyone's going to leave camp, which gives Tusk like a really great opportunity to do some cool stuff when camp is empty. And typically Tusk has been at camp when it's empty for about 12 hours at the end of session 1 before they leave for their intersession trip. And now we're looking at a situation where camp is going to be empty 3 times when Tusk is there. And that's really exciting because it affords a lot of opportunity for us to do things that we haven't been able to do because there's just like other kids around, and certain things that we try to do in the senior camper program we can't do with Cayugans running around. Is Tusk one cohort, or are we going to be split up? Again, that's a hard one to answer given what we know about COVID and what we don't know about COVID and how it will affect us. But I can say that just in terms of like the regular daily schedule, Tusk is always split up into 3 or 4 and sometimes 5 T groups, just because like arts and crafts can't take 45 Tuscaroraans at once. Ceramics can't take 45 Tuscaroraans at once. You know, we can take 12 or 15 or, you know, sometimes 20, and that's fine. But we have to split Tusk into T groups to get everybody to all the regular activities that we want them to. In terms of like bunk nights and village nights, Tusk has a really unique, because of the population of Tusk, we have a really unique opportunity to do things like the Big Little program and to do bunk nights as T groups or bunk nights as, you know, as different delineations or different divisions of the group of Tusk, or, you know, sometimes some summers a bunk night and a village night are the same thing for Tusk because it's one group that's out there. So
Hey, Neil.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Laura.
Hi.
Hi, question. Okay, based on the red, orange, yellow, how do colors affect overnight camp?
So right now, overnight camps are not allowed in New York State. There is no approval to run an overnight sleepaway camp in New York State, regardless of the colors. It's just something that was never approved back in the summer. day camps were approved, but overnight camps were not, and they're still not approved. So we're waiting for approval from the governor. And I imagine, and don't quote me on this, but I imagine we're not going to hear anything about it until like April at the earliest. It may even be later than that. We might not know until like the day before if we actually have approval to run. So how does red, orange, yellow, how did like the color things affect anything? The only thing that it affects right now is Lori, Amy, and myself and where we work, whether it's from our couches or from the office at the JCC. As you may have heard, the JCC is in an orange zone, which means it will be closed for the next 2 weeks. But because we work in childcare, Amy, Lori, and I are still able to work out of the office of the JCC. But the three of us have computers and cell phones and are able to work from home, although it's not ideal. Hopefully that answers your question. If camp goes back to normal, would the people that didn't originally sign up for camp be able to sign up? If we're able to expand our capacity, which I think is what you mean by it goes back to normal, if we're able to expand our capacity more than 50% more than what we're planning for, then yeah, there will be more spots for people to sign up. But one thing that Amy, Lori, and I thought about very critically when we were opening registration was, do we lump Tusk in, the senior camper program in with the 50% capacity thing? Do we change what senior campers look like? Is Mohawk and Seneca like a 4-year thing or a 5-year thing instead of a 3-year thing? And we decided against that. We decided to try and preserve what we could of the senior camper program because of its importance to both the senior campers, but also to the camp community at large. So there's 46 spots because that's who was signed up for Tusk in 2020. There's 46 Tusk spots. So if we open up capacity, I guess in theory we could take more. I think we can fit like 53 or 54 Tusk campers in. So I guess like in theory we could take a couple more, but I don't know that there are those senior campers out there that weren't signed up in 2020 that would sign up in 2021. But the rest of camp, sure. Like right now, Cayuga and Onondaga are, one's going to be 12 campers and one's going to be 18 campers. And if we're able to expand capacity, one will be 30. They'll both be like 30 or 36, which is normal. In the scenario where COVID precautions are still necessary, what would some of those precautions look like? I can't speak, to. I don't know. And they will be, the COVID precautions will be the same as they are everywhere else in the state at that point. And there might even be additional restrictions for in order for an overnight camp to open up. But we know that we're going to need masks. We know that there's hand sanitizer and hand washing and social distancing. And we know that all of the materials that we use are going to have to get cleaned thoroughly between use. So, a game of knockout becomes very complicated depending on who's playing and who's allowed to play and which basketballs they use and how much time needs to be between rounds so that the basketballs can be sanitized and the kids can be switched out. So if precautions are still necessary, you'll know as soon as we know what they are, and we will work with you on those as we find out. If we are Tusk, if we sign up for Tusk in 2021, is Israel still an option for 2022? Yeah, right now, we're looking at Tusk happening this year and then Israel happening next year for this age group. The current situation for Tusk 19 is that they have the opportunity to go to Israel or be a CIT or do both right now. And I imagine something similar will happen next year, but I can't speak on that yet. We have to get through August 2021 before we can talk about July of 2022. Josh, you're welcome for preserving the senior camper program. I hope you're signed up. So yeah, other questions, other comments. One thing I'm curious about for all of you is like, what are the things, and I think we asked about this in a survey, but I'm not sure if it was the senior campers that filled it out or their parents, but what are the things that you're really looking to get out of your senior camper program? And that could be something on like a metaphysical level. It could be something on a programmatic level. It could be anything. I'm just curious what you all are looking to get out of a senior camper experience. So I'm going to mute myself.
I think I was really excited for like just like the bonding and the leadership and the friendship aspect of it, which is part of the reasons why it's kind of sad that not a lot of people are signing up and gives me a little bit of hesitation. So, yeah.
B, thank you for your comment. And I will say that not a lot of Tusk campers signed up is unfair because there's 27, which is a lot. And that's bigger than like 80% of the Tusk groups that have actually gone through the senior camper program were smaller than 27. So there's quite a few of you. It's just like, 19 or 20 that we're hoping will sign up also, but we're over half. So yeah, so there's that. But thank you, B. I appreciate your comment.
I kind of agree with B. Um, like I remember, like my big sister would say like how she bonded so much with everyone, and like I feel like this year it might be harder to do that because like for example, like at night, like when there's sides, like are we allowed to like go into other people's cabins, or is it like not a thing anymore because we have to stay like in our own bubble?
Yeah, Alyssa, thank you. I appreciate your comment. There is a question here. What would you say to someone who signed up but maybe unsure if they actually want to commit and come for the summer? And I'd say that that camp is about the experience, and we've worked really hard to, and I'm not trying to like Jewish guilt anybody here, so bear with me while I try to explain this, but we've worked really hard to preserve the Tusk program so that you all could get at least some kind of senior camper experience. While it may be different than your expectations that you've had for 6 or 7 years leading up to this, it still will be Tuscarora, it still will be the senior camper program, and we've worked hard to ensure that it can still happen in the way, as close to the way that we all want it to happen. And this is like the last chance, right? You guys are 16 or will be 16, and like you're not going to get another opportunity to be a camper at Camp Seneca Lake. And for some people that's fine, and for others, like that's devastating. But I think if you opt out of coming for the summer, like I still believe you'll have a great time in the summer, whatever it is you end up doing, but you won't get to come back and be a senior camper if you don't do it right now. And I'm sure when we canceled summer 2020, a lot of you thought like, oh my God, that's it. Like we're never going to be senior campers. I guess we're just going to be CITs if camp can even happen again. But here we are, like we've made Tusk happen. Like it's available. You can come, you can do it. It just might look a little bit different, but that's fine. Like, things will always look a little bit different than the expectation in the world. So all I can say, Logan, is like, I hope you do sign up because you won't get another chance to after this. And we're sort of like a phoenix being birthed from the campfire ashes right now, that there's even an opportunity for a senior camper program in 2021. So I would, and this is like me who's very much entrenched in making it happen, but I would say like if you miss out on this, then like that's it, and that's just a choice that you'll have to make, and no one can make it but you. But I would, from someone who's like older or more wise or whatever, I would say that like you'll have a lot of opportunities to work at whatever place you would work at or do whatever you're going to do in the summer, but you're not going to have more opportunities to be a senior camper at Camp Seneca Lake. Hopefully that answers your question. There's a couple of good comments here. Talia, thank you. Josh, thank you. Ava, thank you. Is there anything camp or us can do to get more people to sign up, like share exciting ideas for Instagram, for Tusk or something like that? Yeah, that's a great thought, Talia. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think the most powerful thing is the word of mouth and is the peer pressure that you guys can push on your friends and on other people that are not so sure if they're going to sign up. I know that it's more than just a decision that all of you all get to make in a bubble on your own, because I can't imagine many of you have like, I don't know how much camp costs, like $9,000 that you can decide if you want to spend on this or not. And so it's coming from somewhere else, probably your parents, but maybe elsewhere. So I'd say like, push your friends to do it. I mean, there's not going to be, like I just said to Logan, there's not going to be another chance for you guys to be a senior camper. And for some people, they've outgrown the being a camper thing, and I think that's fine. All the power to them. Amy and I have not outgrown being campers. That's why we're still working at camp. And if I was told that I had like one more opportunity to be at camp, or I could opt out right now, I would do everything I could to be there. Just because we all know what a special place CSL is, and I've said it a bunch of times now, but we're not going to like offer you guys a senior camper program in 2022 also, if you decide you don't want to do it this year. So this is like, last chance dance right here. What other thoughts or comments are there on all of this? Now, so I have a question for you all. Is there something you think is going on that is making people hesitant to sign up? I heard some comments about like the living situation, and I hope that people aren't deciding to not come to camp because they might have a tough staff member like sleeping 10 feet from them.
Yeah,
but if
I
that's
don't
the case,
think
that's the case.
the living situation is like the biggest problem. I think a lot of people are being like just negative overall. So when like they hear like that there's changes, people are like, oh, like it's different, it's not the same. And also like a lot of people were complaining about masks because it's like gonna be hot, which obviously, but like I don't understand why people don't get it that you're going to camp. And
those are really good comments. Thank you. I think.
Can I piggyback on what Lisa
Yeah,
just
sure.
said?
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. Also, it's like you're gonna wear a mask if you're here too. Like, might as well go to camp and see your friends and have fun than sit at home and be sad.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think there's the mask thing. Sure. Like, I don't have a good answer for you on that. We're going to be wearing masks, and that, like, I don't know, that sucks, but whatever. I think as Sam just mentioned, like, yeah, go work at Burger King. Like, you're still going to be wearing a mask, right? Go work at wherever, like go work at Target. You're still going to be wearing a mask. It doesn't really matter. And it's going to be hot. I think the idea that like change is really hard, I think that is a valuable statement, and something that's holds true with everything. Like, yeah, camp is changing, and that it's not like it used to be, but we say that like every year, every 2 years, like, oh no, new program direct, like Ari Baum's not at camp anymore. Like, oh no, what's going to happen? And look, like, it's fine. Or like, it's fine. Oh, they built cabins in Seneca. Did you guys know that Seneca used to be tents? Like, Seneca is our most popular village year in and year out. And I don't think, like, at some point people were pissed off that there were going to be cabins and not tents. And like, oh no, boohoo, like, it's still there. Like, camp isn't about where you live, right? There's a lot of changes always. Like, I walked away from camp at the end of the summer of 2018. And that was a change for me, and it was a change for CSL, but like, I'm back. So like, change is hard. It's different. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's not. But if people that miss out on the summer of 2021 they're just gonna miss out. And that's just like it's gonna be something that everyone will have to live with. And life goes on, not a big deal. A lot of people are having hesitations because we have more commitments to sports and stuff now that we're going into junior year. There's more pressure to train over the summer and things like that. Yeah, B, that's a great thought. Thank you for sharing that. And we hear you. That's tough. And we will work with families on getting to those like other commitments as much as possible. Again, we don't know what restrictions are going to look like in terms of like coming in and out of camp. What that'll mean, like a 3-hour practice on a Tuesday afternoon might turn into a 72-hour home quarantine with a couple of COVID tests in order to come back. We just don't know, but we are prepared to be flexible and to work with all of you on meeting those commitments. And I get it. Like, you got to do sports, you got college applications, you got to like are thinking about, and like you have all this other stuff, and you're a year older. So being away for the whole summer is hard, but this is maybe one of the first pieces of the Tuscarora program in 2021 is like, you have to make a hard choice. And sometimes that means missing out on practice and not being a part of the sports team, or sometimes it means missing out on part of the summer. And that's just like a part of life, y'all. Like, you're gonna have to make tough choices at some points. And again, like, camp will be there, and we're gonna do what we can to get you, to have you all there. But if volleyball is important to you and you can't miss volleyball, then sometimes you have to choose between two things that are important to you, and that's tough. But again, that's life. There are times and places where you can train at camp. Yeah, we talked about that before with like, going on runs with staff and being able to take rest hour and shower hour and general swim and do some training there for sure. With internships, summer junior year was when I was planning to do mine. I'm sure others were too. Yeah, I get that. And we've actually had a few questions about community service hours and if there's an opportunity for the senior campers to participate in community service while at camp. And the answer is yes. We will be able to accommodate some level of community service and be able to sign off on some hours. It does mean that you're going to be doing you have to like earn those community service hours, but we'll have opportunities for you to do that. And if being at camp means that like 2 or 3 times a week you have to step out and be on a Zoom call for an internship, or you have like homework to do or summer reading or something like that, like that's all stuff that we're gonna figure out together, and we will work to support you as best as we can with all of that stuff. Like my first summer at CSL in 2011, I was the photographer. You guys might not have even been at camp yet. But I was in college and I took a class over the summer, and like I had to miss out on a couple of things so that I could like do my reading and write my papers and do my Blackboard discussions. And was it ideal for my experience at camp? No, but I got an A in the class, and I think I got an A at camp because I'm still around. So, we'll support you in whatever it takes if it means that if you guys make the decision that you want to be at camp, but you have some things, from the outside world pulling on you, like we'll support you as best as we can to let you be successful at both of those or all of those things. If people have other commitments, is it possible they could just come for half of Tusk or leave early? Yeah, Talia, that's a great question. And I'm going to be a little bit hypocritical because I just said that we will support you and do everything that we can to make sure that you are able to find success in the things that you're trying to do this summer. We don't know. We don't have an answer yet on whether or not we will be able to like prorate the cost of camp for part or half of the summer for senior campers. But what I can tell you is that if you end up coming to camp, signing up to camp for the summer, and your family decides that you need to leave a couple of weeks early because you have other commitments, that's something we will support you in, and we will support your family in. Do I think personally that it's the right thing to do in terms of the senior camper program? No. It's a 7-week program, and it, every day builds and builds and builds and builds until the end of the summer. And if you leave partway through, you're missing out. Like, we can't give you a full Tusk experience in 4 weeks. That's why it's 7 weeks. But if you decide that it's best for you and your family to leave early, then it's your life, it's your family. We can support you in that, certainly. I don't know anything about like, will camp cost less if you only come for half the time. I think unlikely for the Tusk program, but like if you got to go, then you got to go, and we'll support you. We'll give you a good goodbye. We'll give you whatever kind of hug we can on your way up the road. But yeah, Talia, historically there have been people that have left a few days early, a week early, 2 weeks early here and there, or left for like a week or two in the middle to go do other commitments. We just don't know what it will look like in terms of coming back with COVID testing and quarantining, and we don't know. We just don't know in terms of like coming back and forth. But if you got to leave early, you got to leave early. What that doesn't apply to are our staff. They are not allowed to leave early. They might, but they're not allowed to.
So for like
Go ahead.
camp programs, that like in theory, if they do happen, since we're like that age where we would come back from Israel and be like those like helpers kind of, is there any like option to be like those helpers in case we do have like a color war or something, and that we could be like part of like the, not necessarily like programming, but the media team or something, so we have like that opportunity?
So yeah, there will be, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you, Logan. There will be leadership opportunities for the senior campers in 2021 at camp. Whether, does that mean like being on the black team for a program, for like a signature program at camp? I don't know. But what I do know is that it means you'll have a pivotal role in things like the Big Little program, in like any sort of like hobby thing or like a all camp program that we do. Like we always lean on the Tusk campers for their leadership. And I don't know that we're going to have like that, those like 40 or so like Tuscarora Israel age kids at camp all at once to help with that stuff. So yeah, can I picture a world where Tusk is on the black team for some programs? Yeah, I can see that happening, sure. But I can't speak specifically to it. What I can speak specifically to is if you opt out of coming to camp for the summer, we don't have an opportunity for you to come volunteer at your age group, at your 16. Like if you are the age of a senior camper, the only program that we can offer you is a senior camper program. We can't offer you a volunteer or a visitor thing for like 2 or 3 days. It just goes against our policies. That's a good question though, Logan. I hadn't thought much about that before you mentioned that. What other thought, like what other things are on your guys' minds? Like, doesn't need to be a question and answer. Like I'm curious to hear like the things that you're looking forward to, the things that make you apprehensive about the program during COVID or not during COVID. Just, I know like the triathlon is like really scary for a lot of people. It's scary for me, and I haven't done it. So I'm curious where you guys are at with that. Yeah, Sam, go ahead.
I think that definitely the fact that we are going to end up having to use the Mohawk bathrooms, definitely a big drawback because they're kind of icky. But I mean, I know that the cleaning staff will do a good job.
Yeah,
So.
Sam, that's a great comment. Thank you for sharing that. Amy and I have talked a lot about this, and Lori. And yeah, like the Mohawk bathrooms are kind of icky, but they are on the inside new relative to the other bathrooms that are built the same way at camp. Like Cayuga has a cement block bathroom, Seneca has a cement block bathroom, and Onondaga has a cement block bathroom. And they are the original insides. Like they haven't been renovated since they were built in like the 1960s. So they were like 60 years old on the inside there. But the Mohawk bathroom has been renovated more recently, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. But again, Sam, these are some of the things that like we have to make adjustments. Like we're trying to make Tusk happen, and we have to like make this adjustment in order to make it work. And like, is it ideal? Like, are the Mohawk bathrooms as nice as the Tusk bathrooms? Not a chance. Not even close. Like they're on a different level entirely in terms of what they look like. But yeah, it's just something that we're gonna have to live with and do our best with. And you said something about the cleaning staff, and yeah, we have like housekeeping. We like, there used to be a guy named Don who would go around and like scrub toilets and empty trash and stuff. But one of the things that we're looking at for 2021 is that all of the staff and all the campers, particularly the Tusk campers, take more ownership over what the physical space looks like that you live in. So for example, like you wake up on Wednesday morning and you go and take a leak and then come back to the village and you're like, yo, that bathroom is disgusting. There's like shaving cream on the mirrors and there's paper towels over the floor. Like, when's Don gonna get here? Well, I'll tell you something. Like Don will get there eventually. I don't know, a day, 2 days, 3 days later. But like we need our camp community to take ownership of camp, and that means like if that bathroom's gross, like let's all grab a shovel or a broom or whatever and go make it not gross, because camp is everybody. Like camp doesn't belong to me or Amy or Lori or Josh Van Horn or the staff. Like camp belongs to everybody, and it takes all of us doing our part and like chipping in to make sure that that things aren't gross. So, that's something that we'll explore during your senior camper experience, is like, how do we, like, where can we take ownership over things at camp, and how can we take ownership over things at camp? And great example, of the bathroom's gross, like let's make it not gross. It's pretty simple. We just clean it. We can't like rebuild it, but we can clean it. Ava, thank you for that comment. That's great. What else?
I think a lot of people are still apprehensive because like they know some of their friends like might not be going. And this is just from my perspective. I've noticed like our age group is pretty like separate in like the friend groups a lot. And a lot of it depends on if other people are going. Like I know I've texted people saying like, oh, I'll go if you go. And like other people have said that to me. So I think like if one person doesn't go, it affects a lot of other people. And so we're like trying to like reach out. I know like stuff's happening in the the Snap group chat right now. We're kind of like translating what you said into there, and I know people are still apprehensive. So I think that's like a large piece of it is the social aspect, and because our age group is very much like separated, that we didn't have like the normal test that is supposedly like brings us all together. So that's like not normal for us, and people are still being not great about it.
Yeah, I hear you, Logan. That's great. And the only thing I can say is like, let sheep be sheep. And what I mean by that is like, if you got to wait for your friends to commit to do something before doing it yourself, then all the power to you, but you're not going to do very much in your life if you have to wait for your friends to all agree to do something together. I'll also say that like, you guys may be tight right now. You've been tight for a number of years at camp, but the senior camper program changes things. And I was not a Tusk camper. I would have been in Tusk 2005, but I didn't go to Camp Seneca Lake as a kid. But I can tell you through all of my years at camp that people that were really good friends in Oldest, Mohawk, and Seneca, those friendships change and evolve through the senior camper experience, through the Tusk experience. And like, you might have best friends in the world right now, and at the end of the senior camper program, they might not be your best friends anymore. You might have other best friends. And it's just one of these things. Like if you're going to decide as a group that camp's not for you as a group, I hope everyone in that group feels the same way. And it's not just waiting for one or two people to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go. And then, 10 other people follow. And if that's the way it is, then that's the way it is. And that's unfortunate. But I understand like being a teenager is hard, and like social life is really hard and challenging. I understand. And I hear the apprehension there, but if you're committed, if you love camp and you want to be at camp, then just go to camp, and the friends thing will fall into place. Like, the camp I went to as a kid didn't have a senior camper program, and was like very much a camp factory. And what I mean by that is they just like, you go to camp for 2 weeks, you like make your friends or whatever, and then you go home, and then you may or may not see those people ever again. This was also a time before like we had cell phones. I don't even think we had email in my house, but it wasn't that long ago. But camp was like a factory, and like I got my camp experience was defined by the people that were around me when I was there, not by the people that I thought I wanted to be around me while I was there. I was with new kids every summer. I made new friends. I still had a great time like doing canoeing and high ropes and like canoe races and stuff. And it didn't really matter who my friends were until we were like staff, basically. Sam, thank you so much. Have a good dinner. Hopefully it's delicious. Bye. So I hope that you all are old enough and confident enough in your social lives and social situations to recognize that what's right for you might not be right for someone else, and that's okay. And that if you want to be at camp, you should sign up to camp and come. And if you don't want to be at camp, then don't sign up, but don't let someone else decide that for you, except for like whoever's paying, they can help you decide, but like, don't let your friends decide for you, because it's going to be really hard to make important life decisions consulting with a group of 20 people every time. Hopefully that makes sense. Any other thoughts? Or I really appreciate you all sharing like the apprehensions with us. It's stuff that we've heard, but I think it's important to have the conversation and to like verbalize some of the stuff in person with you all. the senior camper program is different than anything else you've experienced at camp, and you all have the opportunity to experience the senior camper program in a way that I don't think any other Tusk group has since Tusk has been around. Like there used to be like oldest for a couple of summers. You used to do like oldest Mohawk twice and oldest Seneca twice, and they called like the second year of oldest your senior camper summer, but you were still in Mohawk and Seneca until 1980. And then in 1980 they like built the village of Tusk and people moved out there. And then we started doing the senior camper program. So since then, it's been 40 years. You guys are going to have like the most unique experience, just because of the state of the world and because of the state of camp and where we're able to have people live and the programs and the activities that we're able to do. And it's like actually a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like you might, other people have done senior camper, but they haven't done it post COVID. So hopefully, hopefully you guys are willing to take on the challenge with us, because I think it's exciting. And I think it's cool that we're able to like keep the Tusk thing intact. I think it speaks a lot to the community and what's important to CSL campers and to CSL families and CSL alumni, that like, yeah, we're doing the senior camper thing because it's important and because your culminating summer experience is important to you, but it's important to like the community as a whole. Like we need Tusk at camp and we need Tusk to do all the things that they always do, just on like a Ruach spirit level. And it's like really important for camp that we have a Tusk program, because it's the culture that's been built over 40 years. Is there anything else?
I can see that the Zoom's being recorded. Do you like put that anywhere? Like just so we can send it to other people, just to be like, here's what like Neil said. Like,
yeah, I'm recording it right now. Hopefully it works. And I can say I haven't recorded a Zoom on this particular computer before. So yeah, ideally tomorrow we'll be able to have this up on the website for you, and we'll send out the link in an email so you can share it.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully whatever we've been saying, or like whatever I've been saying, because I've been talking a lot, is enough to convince people. Hopefully it doesn't scare anyone away. Is there anything else? Is there anything else I can say, or any other questions I can answer for you all, or anything else you want to say while you have the floor? I'll take that silence as a no. So I'll leave you guys with just a few more words before we hang up. And I just want to say that camp is always a challenge. Running it, getting kids to sign up, hiring staff. There's a lot to it, and it's not easy. It's not simple. But do know that we really care about the Tusk program and about your senior camper experience. And we've we started with, when we were rebuilding camp, we started with Tusk. Like Tusk was the focal point, and everything else worked around Tusk being able to happen. And if Tusk happens with 27 kids, like it's going to be great. You're going to have an awesome time. If Tusk happens with 45 kids, it's going to be great. You're going to have an awesome time. But we really do encourage you to have conversations with your friends and with your families, and make a good choice for you about whether or not coming to camp is something that you want to do. Obviously, we're pushing you to come because we know like what we have in store. We know what we're capable of, and that we can provide you guys with a really great experience. But if it's not right for you, it's not right for you, and that's totally fine. But we want you to make that decision with the people that are paying for camp, and we don't want you to make that decision based on the other people that are your age group. Make it for yourself. Make the decision for yourself, and way easier said than done. I get that, way easier said than done, but make that choice for yourself. And if camp is something that you want to do, like come on down. We're gonna have a great time. And if it's not, then that's great. Welcome to camp alumni-ness. It's a cool life being a camp alum. So with that, I will say Lila Tov, and have a great Thanksgiving. Please listen to your local governments about what you should and should not be doing during this time. make good choices, make healthy choices, and be sure to let the people you know that are in your life what you're thankful for this holiday season. So thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Neil.
Bye, y'all. See you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Amy. My throat hurts. I can't hear you.